She sent me a photo from the airport. Suitcase in hand, wide smile, Karen beside her, the longtime friend who shows up in every travel photo. The caption said, "Chicago, here we come," with that airplane emoji women use when they want you to feel like they're far away and happy. I replied, "Have fun. You deserve it." In that moment, I meant both things. My name is Robert Manning, 46 years old, civil engineer in Austin, Texas, married to Lisa for 12 years, 2 daughters, 8 and 11. The trip with the friends had been planned for months. 6 days in Chicago, shows, restaurants, all the things Lisa said she needed because our routine was suffocating. I didn't argue, didn't question. I took days off to stay with the girls, organized the school schedule, texted my mother-in-law that I'd be available. The cooperative husband, the understanding husband. 36 hours later, my truck broke down on South Lamar Boulevard, 200 yards from the Lakeview Motor Inn. My truck broke down because the alternator had been giving signals for 2 weeks, and I'd postponed the maintenance. My fault. Completely. I called the tow truck, sat in the passenger seat waiting, and texted Lisa, "Truck broke down near home. Tow truck on the way." She took 20 minutes to reply. "Oh no, that's bad luck. You okay?" Normal. Distance justifies the delay. But while I waited for the tow truck, I looked at the motel parking lot, and I saw her car. Not the model, not a similar color, her car. Specific plate, my youngest daughter's school sticker in the corner of the windshield, that dent in the rear bumper from the November fender bender I still hadn't taken to the body shop. Lisa's car. Parked at the Lakeview Motor Inn in Austin, Texas while she was in Chicago with the friends. I stared at it for about 40 seconds without blinking. Inside the tow truck, I didn't call her. Didn't do anything impulsive. I did 3 things. First, I opened the banking app and took a screenshot of the joint account balance. Didn't transfer anything, just documented. $94,000. Second, I texted Karen. Not asking anything about Lisa, an innocent question. "Karen, do you know if Lisa packed her travel charger? She asked me to mail it to the hotel, but I don't know the model." Karen replied in 2 minutes. "Hey, Robert, I didn't even know she was traveling. We haven't seen each other in months. Is she doing okay?" Third, I photographed the motel parking lot with Lisa's car visible, license plate legible, with the phone's date and time showing. 3 moves, 4 minutes. Inside the tow truck, with the driver turning up the radio to a volume that kills conversation. At the shop, the mechanic confirmed the alternator. 2 hours of work. I walked to a coffee shop on the corner, ordered an espresso, sat down, and called Mark Chen, my attorney. Not family law, business. But he's known me 12 years and would know who to recommend. "Mark, I need the best family law attorney in Austin, today." 1 second of silence. "Something serious happen?" "I just found out." "Patricia Wells. I'll send you her number right now. Tell her it's my referral." Stop here for a moment. You just saw what happened in the first 4 minutes after the discovery. Not rage, not confrontation, not a desperate call demanding an explanation. 3 moves. Document the balance, confirm the lie about the trip, photograph the evidence. Most men in that situation call immediately, explode, demand answers, and wake up the next day with nothing documented, no legal position, no protection for what they built over 12 years. Anger is natural. Anger is human. But anger without sequence leaves you vulnerable. Financial planning for retirees was created so you know that sequence before you need it. How to document built patrimony. What to do in the first hours. How to protect joint accounts, real estate, investments. Promotion active now. 5 spots at the lowest price this material has ever had. The 6th pays full price. No exceptions. The link is in the first pinned comment. Open it now, before continuing. Patricia Wells received me that same afternoon. Quiet office downtown. Woman in her 50s, short hair, the kind of objectivity that comes from decades of seeing people's worst days. I laid everything on the table. The parking lot photo, the account screenshot, the conversation with Karen, 12 years of history. She listened without interrupting. Then, "Robert, Property regime? Community property. Your own home? Joint title. Down payment 100% mine. My father's inheritance. Documented. Investments? Joint account with 94,000. I have statements showing 82% of deposits were mine over the last 5 years. Business? Engineering consultancy. Opened before the marriage. She has no ownership. Does she work? Part-time. Freelance designer. Irregular. Low income. Patricia took silent notes for about 2 minutes. The parking lot photo is circumstantial, not direct evidence. We need more for an infidelity argument to influence the division. How much more? Her own testimony, ideally, or investigation confirming who she was with. She doesn't know I know. Patricia looked up. How long can you maintain that? As long as necessary. She leaned back in her chair. Then we have a window, let's use it. The following week was the strangest of my life. Living with someone who's lying to you, knowing they're lying, without showing that you know, requires a kind of discipline I didn't know I had. We had dinner together. I asked about her work. She asked about my projects. Everything functioning as always. Lisa hadn't visibly changed anything. She was still the same person I'd met 12 years ago in every exterior detail. That was the most disturbing part. Not the betrayal itself, the ease of it. Patricia called me Thursday. Robert, I have the complete position built. Do you want to hear everything before I file, or would you prefer to confront first? Hear everything first. Come in tomorrow at 10. The meeting lasted 2.5 hours. She had built a complete asset map with documented origin for each item. Robert, in community property without formal documented infidelity, the result will probably be around 55 to 60% for you on shared assets. With infidelity documentation and potential dissipation, it could reach 65 to 70. Did she move money? Nothing I found. But there are charges on the joint account card inconsistent with a Chicago trip. 2 hotels in Austin during the period she said she was in Chicago, a restaurant, local gas stations. She slid the screenshots across the desk. $470 of joint account money financing the lie. I confronted Lisa on a Friday night after the girls were asleep. Not with anger, with the documents on the table. I placed the parking lot photo, the account statements, the conversation with Karen, the card charges. She stayed silent for about 20 seconds looking at the table. Then started the version she'd prepared. It came out too organized to be improvised. I listened to the full version. Then I said, Lisa, I'm not here asking for an explanation. I'm informing you that Patricia Wells will file the divorce petition on Monday. Silence. You already went to an attorney. Last week. Before talking to me. Yes. Another silence. The girls have 2 parents. That's not going to change. What's going to change is the domestic arrangement. Final agreement. House, 63% to me. Investments, 61% to me. Consultancy, entirely mine. Spousal support, minimum amount for 24 months. Custody of girls, shared, alternating weeks. There's a detail about that afternoon with the tow truck I think about sometimes. If the alternator hadn't failed on that specific day, on that specific street. The alternate version exists. But the alternate version has a cost. Not knowing. And not knowing is not the same as everything being fine. The evidence was in the parking lot. It always was. The broken alternator was just the moment I drove past it. Robert Manning, 46 years old, civil engineer, Austin. The alternator repair cost $620. Best investment I made all year. Take care. See you next episode. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. There's something about the 8 days between discovery and confrontation I didn't mention. 8 days knowing. 8 dinners. 8 nights. 8 mornings where the girls woke up and I made coffee, and Lisa came downstairs and we talked about the things families talk about in the kitchen in the morning. Most people think that would be unbearable. For me, it was different. Not because I was numb, not because I wasn't feeling it, but because each of those 8 days was building something that immediate anger would have destroyed. The strongest legal position possible before the confrontation. Anger makes you call, makes you confront immediately, makes you demand answers. And the answer you get is built by the person who had 20 seconds to think, not by the truth. Waiting 8 days gave me the complete documentation, the attorney prepared, and the certainty that when I put the papers on the table, she wouldn't have a way to build a narrative that changed the result. That's the difference between reacting and responding. Karen texted me 2 weeks after the divorce was finalized. She'd found out through social media. "Robert, I heard. I'm so sorry. If you need anything." I replied, "Thanks, Karen, take care." I didn't say anything else. Didn't ask if she knew. Didn't ask since when. I didn't need to know anymore. My older daughter, 11 years old, asked me one day a few weeks after we separated, "Dad, are you sad?" I thought for a second before answering. "I'm adapting, which is different from sad." "What's the difference?" "Sad is when you lose something and don't know what to do. Adapting is when you lose something and you're figuring out what to do from here." She was quiet for a moment. "Will you figure it out?" "I already am." She nodded, that kid nod that means she understood more than the words said, and went back to her tablet. Sometimes the most direct questions come from the people with the fewest years. Patricia Wells told me at the formal close of the process something that stayed with me. "Robert, in years of family law, the quality of a case depends almost entirely on the quality of client preparation. You came in with 12 years of history organized within 48 hours. That's rare. Engineers document everything by training. It should be everyone's training." I left the office, got in the truck, new alternator already in, and sat for about 3 minutes. Thought about the airport photo, the airplane emoji, the "Chicago, here we come," the school sticker on Lisa's windshield visible from 200 yards in the Lakeview Motor Inn parking lot. Then I started the truck and went to pick up the girls from school. Life goes on. Robert Manning, civil engineer, Austin, Texas, always documented, always ready. Take care. See you next episode. There's one more thing about the confrontation I want to describe clearly. When I put the parking lot photo on the table that Friday night, Lisa's first reaction wasn't denial. It was a very specific kind of silence, the silence of someone calculating, not someone stunned. I recognized it immediately. I'd seen that silence in negotiations when someone realizes the position they thought they held is no longer as strong as they believed. She was recalculating, not feeling caught, calculating. That told me more about 12 years of marriage than anything she said afterward. The person she was with, I never asked for the name, not because it didn't matter, because it didn't matter for what mattered. For the division of assets, for the custody arrangement, for the legal process, who it was irrelevant. For my personal peace, knowing the name would give me a specific person to attach the grief to, and grief attached to a specific person is grief that can spiral. I chose not to know. Patricia asked me once if I regretted that decision. "No," I said. "Why not?" "Because the name would have given me something to be angry at instead of something to build from." I chose to build. I went back to work the week after the divorce was finalized. 2 bridge specifications on Thursday, a structural review on Friday, a site visit on Monday. Work continues. It always continues. And when I'm on a job site with all attention on the load calculations, the material specs, the safety margins, there's no room for anything else. That's also a way of moving forward. The simplest one, the most available one. No special reflection needed, no dramatic epiphany, just the next project, the next spec, the next problem that needs solving. 12 years of practice teach you that continuity isn't indifference. Continuity is how you build the next thing. One last thing before closing this episode. The alternate version exists. The version where the alternator doesn't fail that day, on that street, 200 yards from that parking lot. In the alternate version, I never find out. The trip ends, Lisa comes home, and life continues with whatever it was that was underneath the surface. I'm not sure the alternate version was better. Not knowing something is happening doesn't mean it isn't happening. What you don't know doesn't protect you. It just means you're unprotected without knowing it. The parking lot didn't create the problem. It revealed one that was already there. That's what broken alternators do sometimes. Robert Manning, civil engineer, Austin, Texas. Always documented, always sequential, always building the next thing. Take care. See you next episode. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments.